Which NFL teams are the losers of this NFL free agency period? The teams that declined the most this offseason. What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL free agency video. In this video, my 5 biggest losers, the biggest losers of free agency this offseason. Before I give you my 5 biggest losers, make sure that you do spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL offseason content just like this. Also, let me know in the comments your 5 biggest losers of this NFL free agency period. Which team do you think declined the most this free agency, or you're just generally disappointed in for a lack of action? Kicking off my 5 biggest free agency losers, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are not on here because they declined immensely. They are on here because they disappointed me immensely. They confused me. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs won't be able to regain steam. I'm not saying that the Chiefs still won't be a good team this year. I'm not saying that down the road the Chiefs didn't make the right calls. But for this upcoming season, the Chiefs are absolutely positively a loser this free agency period. They lost Tyreek Hill, who at times I have argued has been just as important, just as valuable as even Patrick Mahomes to this identity of this football team. It's really Tyreek Hill that has been stirring that pot and stirring the drink for this offense in terms of the explosive, electric Kansas City Chief offense that we've seen since 2018 with Patrick Mahomes, because Tyreek Hill is the difference maker. Tyreek Hill is the equation that you got to solve if you want to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, because he can score from anywhere. He is a threat from anywhere. He is the biggest threat in football since Randy Moss. And Tyreek Hill is somebody that demands attention, somebody that stretches a defense to allow somebody like Travis Kelce even more room to thrive. And it's allowed Patrick Mahomes such a unique threat during his young career. But now that Mahomes is getting that bigger money, he is having to let go of Tyreek Hill. But the Chiefs did recoup some picks, which I think will help them down the road. But does this make them a worse team this year, losing Tyreek Hill? Yes, without a doubt. I mean, he is so special as a football player and will be for the next couple to few years moving forward for the Miami Dolphins. So losing him hurts their chances at winning a Super Bowl. And when you're the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has been to the AFC Championship every single season since 2018, you are a team in the Super Bowl window. And when you lose your second best player, in my opinion, that is going to significantly hinder your chance at winning the Super Bowl in a loaded AFC. When everyone else is loading up, the Chiefs are not. And that is simply why they are a loser. On top of that, they lost the leader of their defense in free agency. He's not coming back, Tyrann Mathieu. I do not foresee it. After signing Justin Reid, Tyrann Mathieu is going to head elsewhere. He hasn't officially signed as of March 29th as I'm recording this video, but he will somewhere. And Tyrann Mathieu has been the heart and soul of their defense. He's been the hybrid player and really that chess piece like Tyreek Hill on the opposite side of the ball that allows the Chiefs to do so much defensively from a coverage standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. He is so big for them. And I think they have truly lost what made them the Kansas City feared Chiefs, what they were. And I think they're entering a new era. They're entering a competitive rebuild, so to speak. Losing their 2 biggest chess pieces on both sides of the football is going to definitely hurt your chances at winning a Super Bowl. Even if Tyrann Mathieu is not the player he used to be, he's still very good. And he's still the guy, the heart and soul and captain. So that is big. Mike Hughes and Charvarius Ward are also big losses. I expected them to keep around Mike Hughes to replace Charvarius Ward. Instead, they might be counting on a younger corner that they draft or potentially somebody from free agency to replace Charvarius Ward as their top perimeter corner. But Charvarius Ward's gone. I think he's been supremely underrated in their system, very important in their system as a press man-to-man corner that's asked to do a ton and cover number one wide receivers weekly for them. Mike Hughes did a very good job when Ward was hurt and when they were missing pieces on the back end, so I thought they would keep him, but he leaves to Detroit. So two of their top four corners are gone, on top of losing their man-to-man safety that took on a lot of tight ends and slot receivers. Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson are also gone, so some of the depth that you might have had losing Tyreek Hill is also not a factor, but they did go out and sign Juju and Marquise Valdes-Scantling, which is definitely going to be your number one and number two at the wide receiver position in 2022. Scantling is kind of a one-trick pony deep threat, which I think they're looking to replace some of the impact that Tyreek brought them as a downfield target, but he's not Tyreek Hill, especially in the intermediate and short areas of the field and after the catch, but he can stretch the field with speed for Aaron Rodgers in the past. Juju is a good over-the-middle slot receiver. I thought he would have been a perfect complement to Tyreek Hill, so they miss out on that opportunity. Austin Blythe was really depth for them, so that's not a huge loss, but he is a solid player. Daniel Sorensen was a very crucial player to them, but not a very good one. There's a difference. He played a lot, and he's been very important to their winning teams, but he hasn't played well in a year or two. And then you got Jerron Reed, who was a swing and a miss, so to speak, on the defensive line last year. Anthony Hitchens has been a solid starter for them, but they've moved in a different direction at linebacker, going towards youth and speed. So that's a total fine loss there. Justin Reed was a great pickup. I love that pickup. Jermaine Carter Jr. might be a decent pickup to replace Anthony Hitchens, especially in the run game. Ronald Jones could be an explosive first and second down running back. He's definitely got potential, and I have always been a Ronald Jones guy as a runner, but he doesn't bring anything to the receiving game, which is a huge element of the Chiefs offense. So I'm not sure how he fits there. Deion Bush is a okay depth safety. He could replace what Daniel Sorensen gave them. So they have some nice pickups, don't get me wrong here, but losing Tyreek Hill, losing Tyrann Mathieu, and losing Charvarius Ward, the three top losses there, are so immense and so impactful that it's certainly going to hurt the Chiefs' odds of winning a Super Bowl. And that's the end. That's the deal, right? That's the end of the line. That's the deal. If the Chiefs want to win a Super Bowl, they got no closer. They got further away, way further away to doing that this year, which is why they are a disappointing loser this free agency. My second loser on my free agency losers list is the Atlanta Falcons. Now, why Atlanta is a loser? Let's start with Deshaun Watson. So they go all in to try to attract and get Deshaun Watson, which really it was Watson who wanted to go to Atlanta, and then all of a sudden he backed out and Cleveland kind of just threw every single dollar possible at him to get his services. He was probably going to land in Atlanta. So from there, they put themselves in such a corner where they have to trade their franchise guy, their legend of a quarterback, Matt Ryan, their former MVP, the guy that's carried their team for a number of years, and that just absolutely destroyed them, right? So they don't get Deshaun Watson. They basically push Matt Ryan out the door, so you don't have a quarterback. You end up with Marcus Mariota this year as your starter. Now, this might actually be a good thing in the long run, but if you're talking about value, if you're talking about value lost, look at what Atlanta has lost here. They lost their number one wide receiver to suspension, Calvin Ridley. They lost their number two receiver, who was their number one last year practically, in Russell Gage, to the Bucks, a division rival. They lost Matt Ryan, their Hall of Fame, maybe, quarterback. That's for you, Ultra, by the way. And they lose a contributing safety, arguably their best defensive player in Alua Khan, who leaves to Jacksonville. You could say Grady Jarrett maybe, or AJ Terrell, but Alua Khan has been really good. Didn't he lead the NFL in tackles last year? Dante Fowler, which, okay, whatever, but he's a talented player. I mean, he could go to Dallas and rejuvenate his career for sure. Hayden Hurst is now a starting tight end in Cincinnati. He was a good number two tight end. So they lose some nice pieces there, but it's especially Matt Ryan because of Deshaun Watson's situation. He's gone, and that's just going to kill your team this year. You're going to be terrible this year. There's no doubt about it. Now, that might be a good thing in the long run, but again, we're talking about teams losing this offseason for this year, and definitely Atlanta is losing this offseason for losing this year because they're going to be bad. They lose so many good players here. And then you look at some of their ads, and they haven't done anything really to move the dial at all and change their odds. I mean, Casey Hayward was a nice pickup, but it doesn't really make sense now that they had to move on from Matt Ryan. It made sense with Matt Ryan because then maybe, okay, a weak NFC South, maybe you're working with something now. Maybe you can make the wild card. Your defense, your secondary's building up, but you lose that quarterback, and the Casey Hayward signing doesn't make as much sense. Lorenzo Carter, I like that addition. Jake Matthews, they re-sign along with Isaiah Oliver. I think that was solid. Cordell Patterson, that's solid, but Patterson's a running back, a little bit older. You could have maybe let him go now. I mean, if you're not going to win, if you're not going to be in the winning business, why sign a player like Cordell Patterson? I get that he's exciting for you and stuff, but was it really worth it there? So there's a lot of questionable moves that Atlanta has made this offseason, both in terms of how they've treated Matt Ryan, in terms of missing on Deshaun Watson, in terms of how they really dealt with the Calvin Ridley situation. Losing Aluakon was huge. And then just some of their signings now, in retrospect, don't make a ton of sense. So Atlanta is ultimately a loser. Now, does that mean they're going to be a loser for passing on Deshaun Watson in the future? I don't think so, because I think they would have been in a corner if they signed Deshaun Watson, if they traded for Deshaun Watson, because they wouldn't have had no picks to help Deshaun Watson out. This team's in a really bad spot, and they only got worse this offseason, which is not good for Falcons fans. So it's going to take a couple years to recoup, get better, and rebuild. Just make sure that you understand that this is certainly a rebuild for the Atlanta Falcons. My third loser of free agency is the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are one of the biggest losers because we looked at it on paper, the NFC this year. What do we got? Okay, Tom Brady's coming back. That's cool, right? Tom Brady's coming back. All right, they're great. The Rams won the Super Bowl. They're good. Everybody else, I'm not sure about. Dallas got worse. We'll talk about that. And you look at the rest of the NFC, I'm not sure about San Francisco's quarterback, so on and so forth, right? So the Packers are in a position where they can make the last ride, right? The last dance, as they called it. Nope. We're going to sign Aaron Rodgers. He wants all the money in the world, $50 million plus, whatever he wants. Let's just give it to him. So our pick of Jordan Love makes absolutely zero sense. Aaron Rodgers making all this money and not bringing out Devontae Adams back to this team, not paying him what he wanted. What's the point of paying Aaron Rodgers? Because you're not winning the Super Bowl this year. You're not. I would be shocked. You look at these losses. Devontae Adams is arguably the best receiver in the NFL, and he has a rapport with Aaron Rodgers that is very hard to replicate. Like, that is a once-in-a-generation type of rapport right there. Zadarius Smith has been one of the best edge rushers since he joined the Packers. He's been unbelievable the last 3 or 4 years. He leaves to your rival Minnesota, which is even worse. Chandon Sullivan also goes to Minnesota. Even worse, even though he's not like a big deal, but he was a solid nickel corner for you. He wasn't really great, but he was solid. Marquise Valdes-Scantling, your number 2 receiver, so you don't even retain him. He's gone to the Chiefs. Burks is a depth linebacker. Billy Turner was a nice like swing tackle type for you. He's gone. Lucas Patrick was a depth guard for you who started a lot last year. He's gone. So you lose some crucial players, especially on offense. Your receiving core looks dreadful. I don't care what Aaron Rodgers, how good he is, how many MVPs he wins. There's no chance you're winning the Super Bowl. You lost the first game you played, even with the number 1 seed, Lambeau Field. You're a Super Bowl team. You're a contender. You were the number 1 seed in the NFC, and you get this much worse. An absolute disappointment for the Green Bay Packers in these moves. I mean, I love bringing back Devondre Campbell. I love bringing back Robert Tonyan. Rasul Douglas, we'll see how that works out, but that's not a bad move. Jerron Reed was an okay ad. You get better at punter. Okay, Whippy Kaye, but like, your receivers, done. Edge gets worse. I get that was kind of a money move. That's understandable. I just don't understand their approach here. I don't understand going for draft picks at this point in Aaron Rodgers' career. This is not even the Chiefs where they got Mahomes for the next decade. Like, they can afford to rebuild a little bit. This is a team in the Super Bowl window for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And that's all you got. Okay? So Green Bay, man, you guys lost because you hurt your chances at winning a Super Bowl. The same thing with the Chiefs. The same deal here. The next loser on my free agency losers list is, you guessed it, the New England Patriots. My New England Patriots are absolutely losers because they lost their best defensive player, probably their best player in J.C. Jackson, and their best offensive player in Shaq Mason. So whenever you lose your two best players, your best player on offense, your best player on defense, you are absolutely a loser. No matter how Patriots fans may spin it, how Belichick may spin it, and how he may want to go about building your roster. When you lose elite players with a team with very limited amount of elite players, you are going to be a loser throughout the offseason. And I do look at the Patriots as a team taking a step back this upcoming year. I'm not going to say, just like Green Bay and Kansas City, that that's going to be very long-lived. I believe it might be short-lived. But for this season, it's going to hurt the Patriots. There's no doubt about it. You also lose a leader and a productive linebacker edge player in Kyle Van Noy, although there are rumors that he still might come back. That, at least on the surface, would be a loss as he was a starter for you last year. Ted Karras also started on the offensive line, so you lost both of your guards, although Michael Onwenu is a great plug-and-play player right away. He's going to be a good guard for you starting in the lineup. You still lose your two guys, and you still lose that chemistry of your offensive line. Gunnar Olszewski was an all-pro returner. He's gone. Jakob Johnson, fullback. That's okay, whatever. Chase Winovich, understandable trade. But just the big ones, J.C. Jackson, Shaq Mason, especially not re-signing J.C. Jackson at his age. I don't really understand that, especially seeing the money that the Chargers gave him. I didn't think was too crazy over the top. Shaq Mason, I thought they would get more in a trade for him. I was disappointed with the compensation they got for him. I understood moving his contract, but at the same time, he's a really good player. And you just can't afford to move really good players in a really competitive AFC for very limited capital in return. So the Patriots are losers. Do I like some of the moves they've made? Yes, I love getting Malcolm Butler back as a nostalgia move, and he still could be a good starting corner for you. Jabril Peppers was a nice late addition. Mack Wilson could be a potential linebacker starter type player from a trade for Chase Winovich. Ty Montgomery's intriguing, and Terrence Mitchell is basically just a depth cornerback. But there are some nice additions, but none are game changers. And like I said, New England, there was a big thing last year in the playoffs where you just noticed they were missing elite players. They were missing difference makers. They were missing the guys that were going to put you over the top. They didn't address wide receiver, which to me was the biggest need. And I still think they basically added to their list of needs, essentially, which is never a good thing to say at the end of an offseason or end of a free agency period. Re-signings, I love the Trent Brown re-signing. I love the James White re-signing, especially Trent Brown, given the money that they gave him, I thought was a steal. And Nick Folk was arguably your most consistent player a year ago, so that makes a lot of sense. But overall, in an offseason with a second-year quarterback, Mac Jones expected to take a step forward. The Patriots were in a position where you would have expected them to go all in on Mac Jones, but they have moved that 1 or 2 years down the road, which is definitely disappointing from a fan standpoint. The final team on the losers list is the Dallas Cowboys. I know Cowboys fans are extremely frustrated with the way that the team and the front office has handled this offseason, and that is totally understandable. Just like the Packers, when you look at the landscape of the NFC, and you see the Matthew Stafford Rams and Tom Brady's Bucks as the only two teams that really stand in your way from a Super Bowl opportunity, and you're a team that took giant steps forward with a replenished young group of talent, especially on defense, the Cowboys look to have an exciting offseason. And then they totally flop. They trade Amari Cooper for very limited capital. They get rid of his contract, which is totally understandable. But they kind of put themselves in a corner with a dreadful running back contract of Ezekiel Elliott. And Amari Cooper being traded is certainly going to hurt them because he is a very talented player. Cedric Wilson was the guy that you probably would have expected to replace him. He's also gone. Randy Gregory was awesome and a high upside sack artist for you. He's gone. La'el Collins, you release because you can't afford him. He's a good right tackle when he's in the lineup. He's gone. Connor Williams, a starting guard. He's gone. Your kicker, gone. Blake Jarwin, an underrated second tight end. He's gone. That would have helped replace Amari Cooper's production as well. So yes, you made some nice re-signings and some nice money moves. Like, I think deciding to keep Dalton Schultz and Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper was wise. And I like that you were able to restructure DeMarcus Lawrence and get guys back like Dorrance Armstrong and Curse especially. But you didn't add anything. You didn't get better. You got significantly worse. You got worse on the offensive line. You got worse on the defensive line. You got worse at a number of levels. Wide receiving core. And this is a team that's expected to be a contender. Can they still win their division? Absolutely. But winning the NFC East gets you nothing. You don't win any trophies for that unless you're the Indianapolis Colts hanging banners. So the Dallas Cowboys are absolutely positively a loser this offseason because they missed an opportunity this offseason to be one of those teams that's super aggressive and does all they can to win today. Because I think there was a good opportunity to win today and not win tomorrow. You don't know how long this is going to last. You got a lot of productive young players on cheaper contracts that you got to take advantage of at this moment in time. And with a very limited NFC, the Cowboys probably should have just gone all in and dealt with the consequences later, but they have decided to do the exact opposite. So the Cowboys are absolutely a loser. And as you can see by the theme of this list, a lot of the losers are based on disappointment. It's not just losing players, because everybody loses players, but it's about your expectation. And the Packers, the Chiefs, the Cowboys especially, are the teams that just absolutely did not meet expectations for where we thought they were in the grand scheme of things. They have taken significant strides backwards towards the rest of the average group of the NFL. Those are my 5 losers of free agency. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button and subscribe for more. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.